Today we're going to be working on our review for Chapter 10 in Geometry, which really has a big focus on area of different kinds of shapes. So let's start going through our review. This first one in a parallelogram, area is base times height. So base in this one is 3.7, height is 7.6, so that means that area is going to be 3.7 times 7.6. So 3.7 times 7.6 is going to give me 28.12. Now because this is area, it's got to be squared, so it's centimeters squared, so my answer would be A. Okay, another parallelogram. So in this one, remember, it's still base times height. My base in this one is 36. My height is 33. So basically 36 times 33, which will give me 1188, and that is to be inches squared. So A is my answer. Okay, with a triangle, it's 1/2 the base times the height. The base in this one is 5.4, and the height is 2. So it's going to be 0.5 times 5.4 times 2. So I end up on number 3 getting 5.4 centimeters squared as my answer. So my answer is B. Okay, in this one, 1/2 the base times the height. So in this one, the base is 10, and the height is 3. It's 1/2 10 times 3, which is going to give me 15 yards squared. So D is my answer. Okay, now, when we get to the trapezoid ones, these are ones that actually have 2 bases. So when you do this, it's going to be 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. So the bases are 29.2 and 19. My height is 12.6. So 1/2 29.2 plus 19 times 12.6 is going to give me 303.66 inches squared. So my answer is C. Okay, the next one. First of all, if this is 4 right here, this bottom of this is going to be 4. So my big deal is to find this piece right here. And quite honestly, it's pretty easy if you realize this is 45. Because if this is 45 and this is 90, that means it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So if this is 7, then this part right here is also 7. So then it makes it a lot easier to go through and do the bases. So first of all, this is the first base. This is down here. And I have a 4 that comes from the top. And then I have a height of 7. So if I multiply all those together, I end up with 63 centimeters squared, which is A. Now area of a rhombus, 1/2 of the 2 diagonals. So it's 1/2, and if I look at this one diagonal here, I have to add the whole thing up, just like I do this way. So in this direction, I'm going to have 8 and 8. In the other direction, I'm going to have 8 plus 8. So really, it's 0.5 times 16 times 16, which gives me 128 meters squared. So my answer is C. Oh, I guess I got that another twice. Here's 8. Now the easiest one probably to find is this one right here because it's a central angle. So if I were to count around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there's 8 triangles. So to find angle 1, which is a central angle, I would take 360 and divide it by 8, which gives me 45. So that means that the measure of angle 1 is 45, which means these two can't be the answer. Now the other thing that I want you to remember is that when you look at these two pieces that I just highlighted are radiuses, and they're both the same, because they have to be the same distance from the center. So that means 2 and whatever this angle is right here are going to have to be equal. So because a triangle equals 180, to find angle 2, I can take 180, subtract the 45 that I get from angle 1, and divide it in half. Because both these angles are the same, which ends up being 67.5. So your answer is B. Okay, now, a regular hexagon. So here's my hexagon. I know my apothem is 16.5 feet, and I know the sides are 19. Now, I will tell you, in some of these problems, depending on how you round stuff, your answers may not be exact. So I want you to keep that in mind. So area equals 1/2 the apothem times the perimeter. So the apothem is 16.5. Perimeter is 19 times 6. Oops. Move this area over a little bit. So if I did 0.5 times 16.5 times 19 times 6, I end up with 940.5. It's going to be feet squared. And the closest to that would be this one, so that's going to be the answer. Okay, find the area of a regular polygon. So on this one, I know I'm still following this formula. Perimeter is probably the easiest because my side lengths are 10 and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of them. But I don't know my apothem. So my job right now is going to be to find the apothem. So I'm going to add a couple lines here. If I do that, and then if I add my dash line down the middle here, to find this central angle of the whole thing. Now there are 8 sides, so remember, just like we did, 360 divided by 8 is 45. So this whole angle is 45, which means that each of these pieces have to be 22.5. So if I go off and make a triangle here, I have 13.07. Now, if this whole thing is 10, then when this comes down, is to cut it into 2 equal pieces. And I'm trying to find it because there's the apothem. So you have 2 choices. You can use this angle of 22.5 in there, or if it were me, I would just use Pythagorean theorem. So 5 squared is 25. 13.07 squared is 170.8249. Subtract 25. So I end up with 145.8249. Then remember, to get A by itself, I do my square roots here. So A, if I were to round it, would be 12.1. So I can go back up here and put 12.1 in. So it's 1/2 times 12.1 times 10 times 8. So 0.5 times 12.1 times 10 times 8, which is 484. So this is going to be my closest answer. Again, depending on how you round this, determine how exactly close you are to that one. Okay, now to do the area of the perimeters, and then we have the ratio of the areas. So my ratio for the perimeter is just going to be these two over each other. So 15 over 18, and then reduce. So this is the area of my perimeter, or excuse me, the ratio of my perimeter. To do area, I take that ratio, my perimeter, and square it. So that's my area. So that means if I'm looking up here on 11, my answer is going to be A. Okay, now I have a square on this next one. Let's see, a square. I'm going to draw some lines here so you can see the radiuses. They tell us in this one that our radius is 16, so I know these are 16. I also know that if I want to find the central angle, it's going to be 90 for the whole thing, which means that if I drop this line right here, that this is going to be 45 and 45. So if I were to go and take one of these triangles off now, I know that this is 45, 45, 90. Well, this side's 16. And I actually need to find both these sides. This is the apothem, and this is this bottom one here. It takes 2 to make this whole thing. But I actually realize they're both the same, because it's 45, 45, 90. So if I take x squared plus x squared equals 16 squared, this is going to be 2x. 16 squared is 256. Divide by 2. So I get x squared equals 128. Do the square roots here. So x equals 11.3, which means that in this problem that we're doing, remember, area is 1/2 the apothem. Now the apothem is 11.3. And remember, this means that this side is 11.3, and this is, so I have to total that, which means that this whole side is 22.6, and there are 4 sides like it. So if I were to put this in my calculator, my area ends up being 510.76 feet squared. So back up here,